First contact. The unlikely ambassador. The sleek diplomatic shuttle cut through the atmosphere of Zephyria, its hull glowing faintly as it descended towards the sprawling alien metropolis below. Inside, Ambassador Sarah Chen took a deep breath, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching skyline of crystalline spires and bioorganic structures. This was humanity's big moment, their first official diplomatic mission to the Galactic Confederacy's capital world. Nervous, Ambassador? Captain Rice asked from the pilot's seat, his weathered hand steady on the controls. Sarah managed a small smile. Let's just say I'm acutely aware of the stakes, Captain. As the youngest diplomat in Earth's fledgling interstellar corps, Sarah knew the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Humanity had only recently made first contact, and their position in the galactic community was precarious at best. This mission could determine whether Earth would be welcomed as equals or dismissed as primitive outsiders. The shuttle touched down on a landing pad jutting out from a towering structure of shimmering, translucent material. A delegation of alien dignitaries waited, their forms as diverse as the cosmos itself. Sarah straightened her jacket and strode down the ramp, head held high. Greetings, representatives of Earth. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin stepped forward. I am High Counselor Zilvax. Welcome to Zephyria. Sarah bowed respectfully. Thank you, High Counselor. I bring greetings and hopes for friendship from Earth. As introductions were made, Sarah couldn't help but notice the mixture of curiosity and wariness in the alien's multifaceted eyes. Humanity was an unknown quantity, and she could almost feel the judgment being passed with every gesture and word. The group made their way into the vast gathering hall, where representatives from hundreds of worlds milled about. Sarah marveled at the diversity. Beams of gas and crystal, creatures with multiple limbs and eyes, and some whose very forms seemed to defy physics. High Counselor Zilvax guided Sarah to a raised platform. Ambassador Chen, please address the assembly. Share with us why humanity believes it is ready to join our galactic community. Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding. This was the moment she had prepared for. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could utter a word, a bone-chilling roar echoed through the chamber. Panic erupted as a massive, serpentine creature burst through a shimming energy barrier. It was easily the size of a bus, with obsidian scales and eyes that glowed like molten gold. Razor-sharp spines ran down its back, and its maw was lined with teeth as long as Sarah's forearm. It's a void serpent, someone screamed. The apex predator of the Nyx Nebula. How did it get here? Alien dignitaries scrambled for safety, but Sarah stood transfixed. The creature's eyes locked onto her, and in that moment, she saw something beyond mere bestial hunger. There was intelligence there, and pain. Without thinking, Sarah took a step forward. Ambassador, no, Captain Rice shouted, reaching for her. But Sarah was already moving. She approached the void serpent slowly, her hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. The entire chamber held its breath, certain they were about to witness the gruesome death of the human diplomat. Hey there, big guy, Sarah said softly, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. You're a long way from home, aren't you? And I bet you're scared and confused. The void serpent's head swayed, its eyes never leaving Sarah. A low growl rumbled from its throat, but it made no move to attack. Sarah continued to speak in soothing tones, inching closer. I know how you feel. This place is pretty overwhelming for me too. But you don't have to be afraid. No one here wants to hurt you. To the astonishment of every being in the chamber, the void serpent's aggressive posture began to relax. Its spines lowered, and the glow in its eyes dimmed to a softer light. That's it, Sarah smiled. You're doing great. I'm going to come a little closer now, okay? She was now within striking distance of the creature. One snap of its jaws could end her in an instant. Instead, the void serpent lowered its massive head until it was level with Sarah's. With a deep breath, Sarah reached out and gently placed her hand on the creature's snout. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. "There we go," Sarah said, stroking the surprisingly smooth scales. "You're not so scary after all, are you? Just a bit lost and lonely." The void serpent made a sound that was almost a purr, leaning into Sarah's touch. The tension in the room evaporated, replaced by a sense of wonder and disbelief. High Counselor Zilvax approached cautiously, his eyes wide. "Ambassador Chen, that was extraordinary. In all my cycles, I've never seen anything like it. Void serpents are known to be untamable, beyond reason or empathy. How did you do this?" Sarah turned, her hand still resting on the now docile creature. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Kindness speaks a language all its own.' I simply listened to what this beautiful being was trying to tell us." The High Counselor's expression shifted from amazement to deep contemplation. Perhaps we have underestimated your species, Ambassador. This display of empathy and courage, in the face of what we considered certain death, speaks volumes about humanity." Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "High Counselor, members of the Galactic Confederacy, I came here today to convince you that humanity is ready to join your community. But actions speak louder than words ever could. We may be young as a spacefaring species, but we bring with us compassion, adaptability, and a willingness to understand even those vastly different from ourselves." She gestured to the void serpent, which was now curled contentedly around her. "We see the universe not as a place to be conquered, but as a vast tapestry of life to be explored and cherished. Every being, from the smallest microbe to the grandest gas giant consciousness, has value and deserves respect." A murmur of approval rippled through the gathered aliens. Even those who had been most skeptical of humanity's inclusion were nodding thoughtfully. High Counselor Zilvax raised his hands for silence. "Ambassador Chen, you came here to deliver a speech about humanity's readiness to join us. Instead, you have shown us. Your actions today have done more to prove your species' worth than any words could have." He turned to address the assembly. "Fellow representatives, I propose we welcome humanity into the Galactic Confederacy, not as junior members, but as full partners. They have demonstrated wisdom beyond their years and courage beyond measure." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of agreement, expressed in 100 different languages and forms of communication. Sarah felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. This was more than she could have hoped for. As the formalities of Earth's admission into the Confederacy began, Sarah turned back to the void servant. "Thank you," she whispered, stroking its scales. "You and I, we're not so different. Strangers in a strange land, just trying to find our place. I think we're going to be good friends, you and I." The creature rumbled contentedly, and Sarah knew that this was just the beginning of humanity's grand adventure among the stars. They had much to learn, but also much to teach. The galaxy would never be the same again. The trial of adaptability. 3 standard galactic months had passed since Earth's dramatic entry into the Galactic Confederacy. Ambassador Sarah Chen found herself on the bridge of the GCS Horizon, a cutting-edge research vessel that represented the first joint human-alien endeavor. The ship hummed with activity as its diverse crew prepared for their most challenging mission yet. "Ambassador, we're approaching the Nexus anomaly," Captain Zorak announced, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. The Andromirian's tentacles danced over the ship's controls with practiced ease. Sarah nodded, her gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of energy that dominated the view screen. "Thank you, Captain. Is the team ready?" "As ready as we'll ever be," a gruff voice responded. Dr. Alexei Volkov, Earth's leading genophysicist, joined them on the bridge. "Though I still think this is madness." The Nexus anomaly had appeared without warning at the edge of Confederate space. Initial probes sent to investigate had either been destroyed or returned transmitting gibberish. The Confederacy's top scientists were baffled, and tensions were rising as several member species blamed each other for the anomaly's creation. It was Sarah who had proposed a radical solution: a manned expedition into the anomaly itself. Her argument was simple: Sometimes, to understand the truly alien, you needed to experience it firsthand. The Confederacy Council had been skeptical, but Sarah's track record of unconventional success won them over. Madness or not, Doctor, it's our best shot at understanding what we're dealing with, Sarah replied, a hint of a smile on her lips. Besides, isn't pushing the boundaries of known science what you live for? Alexei grunted, but Sarah caught the gleam of excitement in his eyes. The intercom crackled to life. Ambassador, this is Chief Engineer Tilak. The nullification field is at maximum strength. We're as protected as we can be. Excellent work, Tilak, Sarah responded. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Captain Zarak, take us in. The Horizon glided forward, its sleek hull gleaming as it approached the roiling energies of the anomaly. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a lurch that sent several crew members stumbling, the ship was enveloped in a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. Alarms blared as the ship's systems went haywire. Gravity fluctuated wildly, sending loose objects flying. The view screen displayed a fractal pattern that hurt to look at directly. Status report, Sarah called out, gripping her console tightly. Multiple systems failing, Captain Zarak reported, her usual calm demeanor strained. The nullification field is barely holding. We're experiencing temporal distortions. Before Sarah could respond, reality seemed to tear itself apart. In the span of what felt like both an instant and an eternity, the crew of the Horizon found themselves elsewhere. Gone was the swirling vortex of the anomaly. Instead, the view screen showed a desolate landscape under a bruised purple sky. Two suns, one blue and one red, hung low on the horizon. Where are we? Sarah whispered, her mind struggling to process the sudden change. Dr. Volkov was the first to recover, his fingers flying over his datapad. According to these readings, we're on a planet. But it's unlike anything in our databases. The atmospheric composition, the radiation levels, they're all off the charts. How is that possible? Tilak's voice came over the intercom, tight with stress. We were in deep space moments ago. Sarah's mind raced, piecing together the implications. The anomaly. It must be some kind of gateway. Not just through space, but possibly through time or even alternate realities. Captain Zarak's tentacles writhed in agitation. Ambassador, the ship's systems are failing rapidly. This environment is too hostile. We need to find shelter or a way back through the anomaly immediately. Sarah nodded, her training kicking in. Agreed. Dr. Volkov, work with Tilak to see if you can stabilize our core systems. Captain, scan for any structures or geological formations that might offer protection. I'll coordinate with the rest of the crew to prepare for emergency evacuation if necessary. As the team sprang into action, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. This was far beyond anything they had prepared for, but it was also the kind of situation where humanity's adaptability could truly shine. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Horizon fought a desperate battle against time and an increasingly hostile environment. The dual suns began to set, causing wild temperature fluctuations that threatened to tear the ship apart. It was Ensign Yara, a young Pelvian with an uncanny spatial awareness, who made the crucial discovery. Ambassador, I've detected an energy signature about 2 kilometers from our position. It's faint, but it's there. Sarah leaned over the ensign's console, hope rising in her chest. Good work, Yara. Can you determine its nature? The ensign's frilled crest fluttered in concentration. It's artificial. Definitely not natural to this environment, but its composition is like nothing I've ever seen before. It's our best shot, Sarah decided. Captain Zarak, can we move the ship? The Andromerian shook her head grimly. Negative, Ambassador. Propulsion is completely offline. We'll have to go on foot. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. A 2-kilometer trek across unknown, hostile terrain with limited supplies and protection. It was a monumental risk, but staying with the failing ship was certain doom. "All right, listen up, everyone," Sarah addressed the crew, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're going to make for that energy signature. It's not going to be easy, but I believe in this team. We've got the best minds from a dozen worlds working together. If anyone can survive this, it's us." As the crew prepared for the perilous journey, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Dr. Volkov, his craggy face set in determination. "You know, Ambassador," he said gruffly, "when I first heard about this mission, I thought the Confederacy was crazy to put a human in charge. But now, I'm glad you're here. Your kind has a knack for the impossible." Sarah smiled, touched by the usually taciturn scientist's words. "Thank you, Alexei. Let's hope that knack holds out a little longer." With final checks complete, the airlock hissed open. Sarah was the first to step out onto the alien world, the harsh wind whipping at her environmental suit. The landscape before them was a nightmare of jagged rocks and shifting sands, illuminated by the eerie glow of the setting suns. "Stay close," Sarah called out to the team. "Watch each other's backs, and call out any changes immediately. We're all in this together." As they set out across the forbidding terrain, Sarah's mind whirled with questions. What was this place? How did the anomaly bring them here? And what would they find at the source of that mysterious energy signature? One thing was certain. This mission had become far more than a scientific endeavor. It was now a testament to the power of cooperation and the indomitable spirit of sentient life, human and alien alike. With every step across the alien landscape, they were writing a new chapter in galactic history. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, plunging the world into darkness broken only by the ghostly illumination of unfamiliar constellations. Sarah activated the light on her suit, the beam cutting through the gloom. "Stay alert, everyone. No telling what might be lurking out here." As if in response to her words, a keening wail echoed across the desolate plain. The sound sent shivers down Sarah's spine, a primal fear response to a predator's call. "Form up," she ordered, and the team instinctively drew closer together. Whatever made that sound, we're not on its menu tonight. Keep moving. The journey became a grueling test of endurance and will. Gravity fluctuations made every step a challenge, while sudden bursts of radiation forced them to take cover behind rock formations. Through it all, the diverse crew of the Horizon worked together with a synchronicity that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Tulok's technical expertise kept their suits functioning in the hostile environment. Yara's spatial awareness helped them navigate the treacherous terrain. Dr. Volkov's scientific insights allowed them to predict and mitigate environmental hazards. And through it all, Sarah's leadership kept them focused and united. As they crested a final ridge, a collective gasp went up from the team. Before them stood a structure that defied comprehension, a towering spire that seemed to be made of pure energy, pulsing with colors that hurt to look at directly. "That's not possible," Dr. Volkov muttered, his instruments going haywire. Sarah stared at the impossible construct, a mixture of awe and determination on her face. "Maybe not by the laws of physics as we know them, Alexei, but it's here, and it might be our only way home." As they approached the base of the spire, strange symbols began to glow on its surface. Sarah felt a pull, an inexplicable urge to reach out and touch the structure. "Ambassador, wait," Captain Zorak called out, but it was too late. Sarah's hand made contact with the glowing surface, and the world exploded into light. The Galactic Tournament. Sarah's consciousness slammed back into her body with the force of a supernova. She gasped, her eyes flying open to find herself lying on a pristine white floor, surrounded by her equally disoriented crew members. "Is everyone all right?" She managed to croak out, pushing herself to a sitting position. A chorus of groans and affirmatives answered her. As Sarah's vision cleared, she realized they were in some sort of vast, dome-shaped chamber. The walls shimmered with the same energy they had seen in the spire, but here it was contained, controlled. Ambassador Chen, a melodious voice echoed through the chamber. "We've been expecting you." Sarah turned to see a being unlike any she had encountered before. It appeared to be made of pure light, its form constantly shifting and flowing. Beside her, she heard Dr. Volkov's sharp intake of breath. "Impossible," the scientist muttered. "There's supposed to be a myth." "What are you talking about, Alexei?" Sarah whispered. "The Lumine," he replied, awe evident in his voice. "An ancient race said to have transcended physical form. But they disappeared eons ago." The luminous being seemed to ripple with amusement. "Your knowledge serves you well, Dr. Volkov. We are indeed what you call the Lumini. And you, brave explorers, have passed the first test." Sarah stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in despite the surreal situation. "First test. I'm afraid I don't understand. We came here by accident, through an anomaly in our space." "There are no accidents, Ambassador," the Lumine responded. "The anomaly was a gateway designed to attract species with the potential to join us. Your journey here was a test of courage and adaptability. And now you face the next challenge." With a gesture, the chamber walls became transparent, revealing a vast arena beyond. Thousands of alien beings filled the stands, representing species Sarah had never seen before. "Welcome," the Lumini announced, its voice now booming throughout the arena, "to the Galactic tournament." The crowd erupted in cheers and otherworldly sounds of excitement. Sarah and her crew exchanged bewildered looks. "Every 1,000 years, the Lumini continued, we gather the most promising species from across the cosmos to compete in a series of trials. The victors earn the right to join us in ascension, to become beings of pure energy and thought." Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. "And if we refuse to participate?" The Lumine's form flickered slightly. "Then you will be returned to your galaxy, with no memory of this encounter. But know this, the trials you face here may well determine the fate of your entire species." A tense silence fell over the Horizon's crew. It was Captain Zarek who broke it, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "Ambassador, what are your orders?" Sarah took a deep breath, looking at each member of her diverse team. She saw fear in their eyes, yes, but also determination and trust. They had come this far together. There was only one choice. "We'll compete," Sarah announced, her voice firm. "Not for ascension, but for the right to chart our own destiny. To prove that our nations, our species, are worthy of standing among the stars on our own terms." The Lumine's form brightened. "Well spoken, Ambassador. Let the trials begin." What followed was a series of challenges that pushed the Horizon's crew to their absolute limits. Each trial seemed designed to test not just their physical and mental capabilities, but their ability to work together as a cohesive unit. In the arena of minds, they faced a series of increasingly complex puzzles that required the combined knowledge of their diverse backgrounds. Dr. Volkov's scientific expertise melded seamlessly with Tilok's engineering skills, while Yara's unique spatial perception allowed them to see solutions others missed. The labyrinth of echoes tested their communication and trust. Navigating a maze where sound and light behaved in impossible ways, they had to rely on each other's senses and instincts to avoid deadly traps. But it was the final challenge, the forge of unity, that truly pushed them to their limits. Here, they faced simulations of the greatest threats their respective species had ever encountered. Humanity's darkest hours played out alongside the catastrophes that had shaped their alien allies' histories. As the simulations grew more intense, blurring the lines between past and present, reality and illusion, Sarah realized the true nature of the test. It wasn't about overcoming each threat individually. It was about finding the strength to face them together. "Everyone, listen to me," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the chaos of a dozen apocalyptic scenarios playing out around them. "This isn't about winning or losing. It's about proving that we're stronger united than we ever were apart." Understanding dawned in her teammates' eyes. As one, they began to share their experiences, their fears, and their hopes. Human ingenuity combined with Andromerian strategy. Pelvian intuition enhanced Volkovian logic. In that moment, they were no longer separate species, but a single, unified force. The simulations faltered, unable to compute the level of cooperation they were witnessing. With a blinding flash, the forge of unity dissolved around them, leaving the team standing once again before the Luminae. The energy being's form pulsed with what Sarah could only interpret as excitement. Extraordinary. In all our millennia of observing and testing, we have never seen such a display of unity and diversity. You have not simply passed our trials, Ambassador Chen. You and your team have transcended them. The arena erupted in a cacophony of cheers and sounds Sarah's translator couldn't begin to interpret. The Horizon's crew looked at each other in stunned disbelief, the weight of their accomplishment slowly sinking in. "So," Sarah said, her voice hoarse from exertion, "does this mean we've earned the right to ascend?" The Luminae's form shimmered in what might have been amusement. "You have earned that right, yes. But I suspect that is not the path you will choose." Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "You're right. We're not ready to leave our physical forms behind. There's too much left for us to discover, too many bridges yet to be built between our peoples." "A wise choice," the Luminae responded. "But know that you have proven yourselves worthy of joining the cosmic community. The knowledge and technology of the Luminae will be open to you, to use as you see fit in your journey through the stars." As the implications of this gift sank in, Sarah felt a surge of hope and excitement. With the Luminae's knowledge, they could solve problems that had plagued their species for generations. They could explore further, understand deeper, and grow in ways they had never imagined. But more than that, they had proven that cooperation between diverse species wasn't just possible. It was the key to unlocking the true potential of sentient life. As the Horizon's crew prepared to return to their own space, Sarah knew that the real challenge was just beginning. They would need to take the lessons learned here and apply them on a galactic scale. It wouldn't be easy, but after what they had accomplished in the Galactic tournament, Sarah believed anything was possible. The journey home awaited, and with it, the dawn of a new era for the Galactic Confederacy. The cosmic threat. The return of the GCS Horizon to Confederate space was met with a mixture of relief, confusion, and awe. For the crew, mere weeks had passed. But in the outside world, nearly a year had elapsed. A side effect of their journey through the anomaly that even the Luminae's advanced science struggled to explain. Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Confederate Council, her crew arrayed behind her. The chamber was packed, with representatives from every member species eager to hear their report. "And so," Sarah concluded, "while we have declined the offer of ascension, the Luminae have granted us access to their knowledge and technology, to be used for the betterment of all sentient life in the Confederacy." A murmur rippled through the assembly. High Counselor Zilvax leaned forward, his iridescent skin shimmering with excitement. "Ambassador Chen, the implications of this are staggering. With Luminae technology, we could solve problems that have plagued our civilizations for eons." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her face. "That's true, Counselor. But I believe the most valuable thing we've gained isn't technology, but perspective. We've seen firsthand the power of true cooperation between diverse species. If we can apply that on a galactic scale." Her words were cut short by a deafening alarm. The chamber's holographic displays flared to life, showing a massive distortion in space at the edge of Confederate territory. "Report," Zilvax demanded. A harried-looking Thoraxian operator responded, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "High Counselor, we're detecting a massive energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's consuming entire star systems as it advances." The chamber erupted in panic. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever this threat was, they had been prepared for this moment. "High Counselor," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. Request permission to take the horizon to investigate this phenomenon. Zilvax's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. Ambassador, I appreciate your bravery, but this is beyond anything we've encountered. We need to evacuate our border worlds, marshal our fleets. With all due respect, Sarah interrupted. Traditional tactics won't work against something of this scale. We need to understand what we're dealing with. The horizon is equipped with Lumini technology. We're the best chance you have at getting close enough to gather vital intelligence. A tense silence fell over the chamber. Finally, Zilvax nodded. Very well, Ambassador, but know that the fate of the Confederacy may well rest on your shoulders. As the horizon sped towards the anomaly, Sarah briefed her crew. The ship hummed with newfound power, Lumini enhancements seamlessly integrated into its systems. Whatever this thing is, Dr. Volkov grumbled. Poring over sensor readings, it defies every law of physics we know. It's as if reality itself is being unmade in its wake. Captain Zarok's tentacles writhed nervously at the helm. Ambassador, we're approaching the edge of the distortion. Any closer, and we risk being pulled in. Sarah nodded, her face set in determination. Hold position here. Tilok, activate the Lumini shielding. Yara, all sensors at maximum. Let's see what we're dealing with. The view screen filled with a sight that defied description. It was as if a piece of the universe had been replaced by a churning maelstrom of impossible geometries and colors that hurt to look at directly. By the cosmic egg, Yara whispered, her crest flattening in fear. What is that thing? Dr. Volkov's fingers flew over his console, his face pale. It's a tear in the fabric of space-time itself, as if something is trying to break through from outside our universe. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. They weren't just facing an invasion or a natural disaster. This was an existential threat to reality itself. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as systems began to fail. We're being pulled in, Captain Zarok shouted, fighting with the controls. Full reverse thrust, Sarah ordered, gripping her chair tightly. But it was no use. The horizon was drawn inexorably towards the cosmic maw, reality distorting around them. Just as all seemed lost, a familiar sensation washed over Sarah. The world dissolved into light, and she found herself standing in a familiar energy chamber. The Lumini materialized before them, its form flickering urgently. We sensed the danger and pulled you to safety, it explained. But we cannot intervene directly. This threat comes from beyond our realm, beyond even our understanding. Sarah's mind raced, but there must be something we can do. Entire civilizations are being erased as we speak. The Lumini's form pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps there is a way, but it would require a sacrifice greater than any we have asked before. As the being explained its plan, Sarah felt a mix of hope and dread. It was audacious, possibly suicidal, and would require the cooperation of every species in the Confederacy. But it was also their only chance. Hours later, Sarah stood once again before the Confederate Council, this time via holographic projection. She outlined the Lumini's plan, watching as expressions of disbelief, fear, and eventually grim determination spread across alien faces. I know what I'm asking is unprecedented, Sarah concluded, but the choice before us is clear: stand together or fall alone. High Counselor Zilvax rose, his voice solemn. Ambassador Chen, when you first came before this council, we doubted whether humanity was ready to join our ranks. Now we find ourselves looking to you for leadership in our darkest hour. The Confederacy stands with you. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. The weight of galaxies rested on their shoulders, but in their eyes she saw not fear but resolve. Well, she said, managing a small smile, let's go save reality, shall we? As the horizon sped back towards the cosmic tier, now accompanied by a fleet of ships from every Confederate world, Sarah knew that the greatest challenge of their lives lay ahead. But she also knew that together, united in purpose and spirit, they stood a fighting chance. The fate of all existence hung in the balance, and humanity was about to prove its worth on the grandest stage imaginable. Unity in diversity. The combined fleet of the Galactic Confederacy hung in space, a dazzling array of ships representing every member species. At its heart, the GCS horizon pulsed with Lumini energy, a beacon of hope against the encroaching void. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her crew at their stations, faces set in grim determination. The view screen showed the cosmic tier, now grown to monstrous proportions. Entire star systems vanished into its maw every second. All ships reporting ready. Ambassador, Captain Zorak announced, her tentacles dancing over the controls. Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath. Open a channel to the fleet. As the communication line crackled to life, Sarah felt the weight of countless lives resting on her words. This is Ambassador Chen. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. We're going to seal a rupture in the very fabric of our universe. The risks are beyond calculation, but the alternative is the end of everything we know and love. She paused, looking at each member of her diverse crew. But we have something that this cosmic terror doesn't. We have unity. We have millennia of different evolutionary paths, of unique perspectives and abilities, all coming together for a single purpose. That is our strength. That is how we win. A chorus of affirmatives echoed through the comm channel in 100 different languages. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. All ships, move into formation. Begin Phase 1. The fleet split into groups, each taking up positions around the tear as they planned. Lumini technology, integrated into each vessel, allowed them to project a containment field that would momentarily stabilize the rift. Field stabilizing, Dr. Volkov reported, his eyes fixed on his readouts. But it won't hold for long. We need to move fast. Sarah nodded. Initiate Phase 2. Tulak, are we ready? The chief engineer's voice came through, tense but steady. Ready as we'll ever be, Ambassador. The Lumini core is at full power. On your mark. This was it. The moment of truth. Sarah took one last look at her crew. At the faces that had become more than colleagues. They were family. Initiate the pulse. Now. A beam of pure energy erupted from the horizon, carrying with it the combined power of every ship in the fleet. It struck the center of the cosmic tier, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent roar that shook the very foundations of reality, the rift began to close. It's working, Yara exclaimed, her crest flaring in excitement. The tear is collapsing in on itself. But their celebration was premature. As the rift shrank, a tendril of impossible geometry lashed out, wrapping itself around the horizon. We're being pulled in, Captain Zorak shouted, fighting with the controls. Alarms blared as the ship groaned under the strain. Sarah gripped her chair, mind racing. They were so close, but if the horizon fell, the entire plan would fail. Divert all power to the engines, Sarah ordered. We need to break free. It's not enough. Tulak's voice came through, strained. The Lumini core is destabilizing. We can't maintain the pulse and fight this thing at the same time. In that moment, Sarah knew what had to be done. Tulak, prepare to eject the core on my mark. Dr. Volkov, calculate a trajectory that will send it into the heart of the rift. Ambassador, no, Captain Zorak protested. The feedback loop could destroy us all. We don't have a choice, Sarah replied, her voice firm. If we fail here, everything ends. Sometimes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Understanding and resolve settled over the crew. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to fail now. Core ready for ejection, Tulak reported. Trajectory calculated, Dr. Volkov added. Sarah took a deep breath. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The Lumini core, the heart of their ship, and the pinnacle of cosmic technology, shot away from the horizon. It streaked towards the collapsing rift, trailing energy like a comet. For a heartbeat, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a flash that outshone galaxies, the core detonated. The cosmic terror writhed, tendrils of unreality lashing out in its death throes. The horizon tumbled through space, systems failing across the board. "Report," Sarah called out, pulling herself up from the floor. "The rift, it's gone," Dr. Volkov said, his voice filled with awe. "We did it. We actually did it." A cheer went up from the crew, echoed by the jubilant voices of the fleet. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged victorious. As emergency power came online and the view screen flickered back to life, Sarah gasped. Where the cosmic tear had been, a new nebula was forming. Gases and energy swirled in beautiful patterns, the birth of new stars already underway. "It's beautiful," Yara whispered, echoing everyone's thoughts. Sarah smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yes, it is. And it's more than that. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together. Different species, different cultures, all coming together to create something wonderful." In the days that followed, as the horizon limped home to a hero's welcome, Sarah reflected on their journey. They had started as representatives of their individual worlds, unsure and sometimes distrustful of each other. Now, they were a family, bonded by shared trials and triumphs. The Galactic Confederacy, too, had been transformed. The cooperation required to face the cosmic threat had broken down centuries-old barriers. New alliances were forming, cultural exchanges flourishing. The knowledge gifted by the Lumini was being shared freely, spurring a renaissance of science and art across the galaxy. As Sarah stood before the Confederate Council one last time, she felt a profound sense of hope for the future. "We have faced our greatest challenge," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "and in doing so, we have discovered our greatest strength. Our diversity, once seen as a weakness, has proven to be our salvation. We are stronger together than we ever were apart." She gestured to the holographic image of the new nebula, now named Unity's Cradle by unanimous vote. "Let this serve as a constant reminder of what we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work towards a common goal. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. We must face them united." As applause filled the chamber, Sarah knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subservient, but as partners in a grand cosmic dance. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges yet to come. But whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, a tapestry of diverse threads woven into a single, unbreakable whole. The universe watched and wondered what this new united force might achieve next.